I wanted to turn to what people are seeing on TV, what started to take over the networks last night when the Pentagon released video footage of the U.S. missiles firing. This is MSNBC anchor Brian Williams referring to that Pentagon video fired at Syria as beautiful, something like 3 times in 30 seconds.
Go into greater detail. We see these beautiful pictures at night from the decks of these 2 U.S. Navy vessels in the eastern Mediterranean. I am tempted to quote the great Leonard Cohen, "I'm guided by the beauty of our weapons." And they are beautiful pictures of fearsome armaments making what is for them a brief flight over to this airfield. What did they hit?
That is MSNBC's Brian Williams speaking last night, describing that footage, the Tomahawk cruise missiles flying into the air from the naval warships, reminding one of back in 2003, shock and awe in Iraq, certainly a very different scale. But Medea, your response?
It's absolutely disgusting, this glorification of weapons that are of much of mass destruction as the use of chemical weapons. The U.S. has been incinerating people for years with drone strikes. We killed over 200 people in Mosul just recently. The U.S. is arming the Saudis that have led to the catastrophic situation in Yemen where 1 child is dying every single 10 minutes. We should not glorify the weapons, and we should not have selective sympathy for people who are dying, whether they're dying from our weapons or other nations' weapons.
I was wondering if Yazan would respond to what President Trump said.
I'm sorry, but when he's talking about the cruel suffocation of babies, right, this is a man that doesn't mind these babies drowning on the shores of the Mediterranean Sea with their family trying to escape the horrors of Syria. This man doesn't mind bombing places in Iraq where hundreds of people have died. This man doesn't mind supporting Saudi Arabia, the world's most embarrassing country, in its slaughter of Yemen. This man doesn't mind making a deal with Bashar al-Assad, a revolting tyrant, in order to fight ISIS. So I can't really take him seriously, nor can I take seriously as well another individual who is as revolting, Putin. Both of them are fascist individuals. Both of them don't give a damn about the people of this region or the communities of the world.
Phyllis Bennis of the Institute for Policy Studies in Washington. What has changed for Donald Trump? I mean, even a few days ago, on Friday, you had Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State, and Nikki Haley, the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, saying that they are shifting gear and that their priority is not to get Assad out.
That wasn't a shifting gear. The shifting gear was now suddenly, because of Trump's emotional reaction to the deaths of these particular children. What Yazan said is so crucially important. The hypocrisy, the selective outrage that this group of children somehow sparks the outrage that didn't exist when children were slaughtered under U.S. bombs in Mosul, when children were killed trying to make the crossing with their parents to a United States that would not accept them, that was slamming a door in their face and drowning on the beach as a result. You know, this is not about a strategy. This is about a lashing out. It may be tied to concerns about all the political ways that the Trump administration is losing support. That's certainly part of it. But I think we also have to recognize that historically, the role of the United States in the region has included a long-standing relationship with the regime of Bashar al-Assad and his father, whether it was recruiting the father to bring his air force to help the United States bomb Iraq in 1991, where Syrian planes were part of that coalition. In 2002, when Bashar al-Assad agreed that the United States would be able to outsource torture and interrogation to Syria because they were experts at that, and sent U.S.-held detainees to be tortured by the Syrian regime in Syria. So, you know, this history of relationship, collaboration, coalition with the Syrian regime and then at particular moments for their own purposes, and it's true, it has nothing to do with concerns about the people of Syria. There are now at least 11 separate wars being waged in Syria, and only one of them has something to do with the people of Syria. Whether we're talking about the war between Turkey and the Kurds, the war between Saudi Arabia and Iran, the war between the U.S. and Russia, which is in transition right now, all of these wars are being waged in Syria. And the effect in Syria is that it's Syrians doing the dying. It's not Syrians who stand to gain from any of these wars. The only thing we need to do with these wars is not to win them, but to end it, to end the fighting in Syria. This escalation by the United States of its existing level of bombing and special forces engagement and intervention in Syria has now been escalated to direct bombing against the regime's targets. This is going to make things worse and not better. The call, I think, needs to be to stop the bombing, stop the claim that somehow there is a military solution here, acknowledge there is no military solution, and figure out how to make the kind of massive investment of high-profile time, of money, of attention, of all the things into diplomacy, negotiations, a new approach that's not going to be based on the clearly false assumption that somehow this is a war that can be won. It cannot be won. It has to be ended instead.